hit the like, subscribe to the channel, support the channel, BIDWKB, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, patreon.com/BIDWKB. The story I want to bring to you tonight, the first one, involves one that we've been covering here for a while. Today, pardon me, what's it today? This week, a judge in Baltimore City handed down a sentence of a teenager who at age 14, Jesus, was this almost 2 years ago? Or was a year and some change ago? I think it was 2021 is when I'm pretty convinced this happened. God damn it. My apologies, everybody. Y'all know I spoke a lot of reefer, but regardless. A 14-year-old was charged as an adult with the murder of a Baltimore man who got out of his vehicle, retrieved a bat from his car to physically confront a group of Baltimore squeegee workers. If you're not familiar with squeegee, well, you should be. If you were in the city, you should know what the squeegee is. But let me tell you, it's the group of kids in Baltimore, at least, that will come through and clean your windshield while motorists are sitting in traffic. This has been something generations of Baltimore youths have done, particularly Black Baltimore youths. And the squeegee workers for generations have been demonized, not only by Baltimore politicians, but by the Baltimore Black bourgeoisie, demonized by the white county residents, the white residents who don't live in Baltimore City, but who live outside and then come to the city, and they act like they're so scared of the squeegee workers. I told the boy I didn't want my window washed, and he tried to beat the shit out of me. It says the hysterical whites, right? Who are terrified of all young Black males. But I digress. So I want us to get the update here from WJZ 13, which is the CBS affiliate here in Baltimore. I'm not in Baltimore, but in Baltimore City. And they break down, or at least give us the update pertaining to the 15-year sentence handed down by a Baltimore judge on this teenager who I believe is currently 16 years old. Did I mention that he was 14 when the incident happened? Did I mention he was charged as an adult in spite of a very plausible self-defense claim? But now he's been slapped with a 15-year sentence, and we'll pick up the story from WJZ.
I'll put it this way. The judge's words paints this perfectly. There are no winners in this case for both sides. Both sides were very passionate, very emotional inside the courtroom today as that judge handed down a 15-year sentence, with the first 5 years of that sentence with no possibility for parole. In a case that divided the city, some sort of closure came Monday after both sides got to plead their case about how long and in which way the teenage defendant will be brought to justice.
The family realizes that this was going to be a dark day at the end of a dark year. They are grateful, as they have been throughout, for the outpouring of support from the community. We know that there are many in the community that will share both that there is some closure that is brought from today's sentence and some frustration that the maximum sentence wasn't imposed.
Inside the courtroom, you could hear sobbing from the Reynolds family and the mother of the teenage defendant, who WJZ is not identifying because he's still a minor and still operating under a juvenile waiver until he turns 18. City State's Attorney Ivan Bates says right now Maryland's juvenile system is not equipped to rehabilitate young violent offenders.
This juvenile is not going to be quote-unquote in a cage with adults. They're going back to YDC until they're 18 to be around people their own age, to continue the schooling, continue all those resources the juvenile system has. But then when they get to the adult system, to have all those services, and they're not going to be in the Division of Correction near a bunch of violent killers. They'll be with young people who also have some of the same issues that they have.
15 years, double the minimum guidelines, but still not enough for the family of Timothy Reynolds, who will never have the opportunity to see him again. But the defense says in this case where there are no winners, the defendant has a chance to learn from his mistake.
He will return to the community one day. He will be a much different person. He's going in as a boy, but he will come out as a man. But he will be a changed man. And like I told him in the courtroom, we all make mistakes. But our past mistakes shouldn't define us. They should refine us.
But still a hole that may never be filled for the Reynolds family, including his wife Shannon.
This goes out to Tim wherever you are. I'm sure you're on a beach somewhere in Santa Monica. We love you and we'll never forget you and we'll always celebrate you and you'll always be in our hearts. Love you, Tim.
A lot of sorrow from the Reynolds family, and this journey is only just beginning for them. The defendant's attorneys in this case, as they seek out this rehabilitative journey, if you will, there are possibilities for modifications and appeals of this sentence. That is a journey that the family's attorney for the Timothy Reynolds family said they will be present for at every turn. Now, I did talk to the grandmother of this defendant, who said that she was pleased with the outcome given the maximum of what it could have been. It could have been 35 years, and instead this judge decided to hand down 15 with no parole in that first 5 years to give him a chance to rehabilitate, get his education, and to re-enter society at some point. We are live here at the...
A very disappointing outcome, and the fact that he didn't get 35 years as cause for a celebration. Well, I guess it is cause for a celebration, knowing how punitively this country treats Black people, but especially Black children and disproportionately Black boys. You know, they have to be brought to heel. They're super predators, right? 15 years in jail for a 16-year-old. Oh, well, he'll get his rehabilitation, everybody. Because isn't that what happens in jail? People come out rehabilitated. They don't come out as better criminals. They don't come out more violent. They don't come out further traumatized. They don't come out with serious inabilities to cope with society. They don't come out with resources that they need to reintegrate themselves. I mean, this fallacy and this myth that the media reinforces, that supports the fucking propaganda of the state, is that jail is somehow good for people. Jail rehabilitates them. Jail makes them better. Where's the proof? Where's the evidence of that? There is none. In fact, all the data points to the contrary. But shame on this young man's lawyers. Did you hear his attorneys? And I know the package did not do a good job of differentiating who was whom there. But among the last people to speak were the defense attorneys for the young man. And for them to go on about the mistakes that he made. What mistake did he make? He was out on the corner of Light and Conway streets, right there going into downtown Baltimore, not robbing people, not selling drugs, trying to make a quote honest dollar. Well, it was nothing honest about the dollar because the fucked up system that drove the children to the corners of downtown Baltimore so they can earn money to support their household. That's a dishonest representation of the system. What I'm saying is the system is dishonest, not the children. You understand what I'm saying? But the fact that we have the conditions in place that these kids know that going out to wash windshields is a better basic guaranteed income in some way than whatever the city provides or fails to provide, right? But the child, my point being is that ultimately, I don't think this child made a mistake. I think this child was exhibiting self-defense. This child didn't run up on this motorist. Tim Reynolds, who I believe was 40 in his 40s when this incident happened, had driven away from where the teens were congregating, parked his car, retrieved a bat, ran across several lanes of traffic to confront physically these teenagers, these kids wielding a weapon. You think he came over there to see if they was okay? Do you think he came over there to talk with a bat in his fucking hand? All of those young men know and knew that either their lives were in danger or their bodily safety was in danger. And this young man went and retrieved a gun, which in America, there's 440 million of them bitches. So it ain't, don't blame the child for the ease of access to the fucking guns. Blame the society in which the child entered the world into. So the child went and retrieved a gun and did what men in this society are taught to do. Kill. The child killed him. And somehow now it is the child who was not the instigator of this incident, who was not the provocateur of this incident. And now it is the child who is doing 15 years in jail. Okay. And there were some things about what Baltimore State's Attorney Ivan Bates said that kind of didn't make any sense to me, because he said, as you guys heard, the child was sentenced to 15 years, the first 5 years not eligible for parole at all. He's 16. And Ivan Bates asserted in that clip that the child is actually going to be sent to Division of Youth Services, that he's about to go to a juvenile facility. I don't think that that's typically how that happens. I think when a child is charged as an adult, convicted as an adult, they usually send them to the adult prison. So this may be a change in Maryland state law that I just may not be familiar with, or Ivan Bates might be lying his fucking ass off. Okay, like something here it does not quite make sense, and I just wanted to acknowledge that. But Will, if you could please pop up that piece from the Baltimore Beat. Shout out to the Baltimore Beat. Big up to their amazing editor-in-chief, Lisa Snowden. They published an opinion piece by the group Baltimore Court Watch, authored by Baltimore Court Watch. If you guys are not following at Be More Court Watch on Twitter, I suggest you do so. These folks do an outstanding job of analyzing and live tweeting Baltimore City court proceedings. And they oftentimes, just by them reporting accurately, they oftentimes show how frequent it is for juvenile offenders to be held without bail, and usually the very harsh way that Baltimore City treats children. And let me pull the piece up myself, because there's a number of things that stood out here, because Baltimore politicians and politicians across the state of Maryland are pissed off. Why are they pissed off? Well, the Maryland General Assembly, was it last year? Hold on, let me pull this up. There have been some state protections enacted to help protect the rights of children who find themselves detained or even arrested by police. The Maryland General Assembly was able to pass the Child Interrogation Protection Act, which puts certain, what we would assume would be common sense protections in place for people who are held up by police as juvenile offenders, right? And some of these protections now include that police cannot interrogate juveniles without either the presence or consent of their parent or guardian, that an attorney has to be made aware that the child is in custody, in police custody, before they are interrogated for the first time. And the child has to be read their Miranda rights in an age appropriate way. Okay. This was put into place for a number of reasons. Juveniles, at a rate of 90%, according to this piece. Will, at your convenience, can you drop the link for that in the chat? Juveniles are far more likely than adults to waive their Miranda rights. They are far more likely than adults to just start talking to the cops, and the police count on that, right? And we know that a lot of these crooked ass police departments, Baltimore City being right there, they don't give a fuck who actually did the fucking shit. They just want somebody they can pin it on. They want somebody that the Baltimore Police Commissioner can stand up at a podium and say, we got him. Now, it don't matter if if the person is actually guilty or the one who committed the crime. That's inconsequential, okay? All the police want is somebody in fucking custody that they can pin some shit on, okay? Um, hold on, let me pick this up. Hold on, let me pick this up. It says the summer of 2023 saw the return of oh wait no that's not the right so anyway so this article this opinion piece written by Baltimore Court Watch talks about how there's been a lot of pushback from politicians across the state when it comes to the PA rather, the Child Interrogation Protection Act, including from Baltimore State's Attorney Ivan Bates, including from the Baltimore County State's Attorney, and from county executives and different politicians from across the state. They are pissed that there are more protections in place for the kids and how this makes the job of police harder somehow because the police cannot now freely violate the constitutional rights of children. Politicians are angry. Okay, which should tell you everything you need to know about this democratically controlled state in which our governor is black, our lieutenant governor is a woman of color, the mayor of Baltimore City is black, the county executive for Prince George's County also black. Like, we have a lot of black leadership here in Maryland. We have a lot of black misleadership here in Maryland. And them motherfuckers be plotting against us and against our kids every chance that they get, with some exceptions in the General Assembly, as you see some occasionally some progressive policy actually does get passed in the state of Maryland. Hold on, let me find this up. Okay, the law. Okay, so yes, the CIPA. Okay, so let me pick this up from the article. It says the law was backed by organizations including the ACLU Maryland and also the Youth Justice Coalition as a way to protect children from interrogations by police without a full understanding of their rights. And let me be clear, police count on would-be juvenile offenders not knowing their rights so they can railroad them into shit, okay? Um, and it says studies show that children who waive their Miranda rights are it says that children waive their Miranda rights at a rate of 90%. They make false confessions at a higher rate than adults. This is according to the ACLU Maryland that they noted in their 2022 General Assembly report. And it says since the law went into effect, the attack of the rights of children has come on from the county executives, local prosecutors, state delegates, and more. It says in July, shortly after the Brooklyn Homes mass shooting, which we covered here on this channel, everybody, remember that mass shooting in Baltimore City, where residents of the Brooklyn Homes neighborhood called police for hours and hours and hours. Hey, y'all might want to come over here. Shit's starting to get rowdy. Police said, nah, we good. We ain't coming over there. Oh, what? And then happens the worst mass shooting in Baltimore history. And the police knew all about it. I'm sorry, I got a little distracted. Hold on. Yes, okay. It says county executives. It says in 2023, the Brooklyn Homes mass shooting, 10 prosecutors, including Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates and Baltimore County State's Attorney Scott Schillenberger, attacked the Children Interrogation Protecting Act and the Juvenile Justice Act of 2022. It says since then, the list of politicians making public statements against CIPA include Baltimore City Mayor Brandon Scott, black mayor, and Baltimore County, and Howard County Executive Calvin Ball. Oh, shit. I'm not shocked. Baltimore County Executive Johnnie Olszewski, and the Harford County Executive, whoever this nigga is, fuck that nigga. Calvin Ball, interesting, because Calvin Ball, Howard County Executive, where I'm from, where Brother Jared resides, no relation to Brother Jared, by the way. I think if Jared actually wanted to make a Howard County executive run, he could do that by easily manipulating people's, the vote for Jared, not Calvin. Vote for J, not C, when it comes to the ball. So anyway, that is just a little thing there. But hold on. So anyway, you guys, the statistics surrounding the rates in which the state of Maryland prosecutes juveniles as adults is pretty astounding. I'm gonna read y'all. Keep that up there. Well, let me read y'all from the Twitter timeline. Radical Industry Escape Artist, which is an awesome name. But it says 80%, and this is per this article and also per data from the state of Maryland compiled by the ACLU. It says 80% of kids automatically charged as adults in Maryland are Black. Let me read that to y'all one more time. 80% of kids automatically charged as adults in the blue progressive state of Maryland are Black. Kids charged as adults cannot access juvenile services like mental health care, mentorship, and family services until they go through the rigmarole, their word, excellent word, by the way, the rigmarole of a transfer hearing, which takes months to years. Also, that's why I'm confused at what the fuck Ivan Bates was talking about. If this young man, this squeegee worker convicted of this murder, in my opinion, self-defense, let's be clear about that. If he was a juvenile when this shit happened, charged as an adult, convicted as an adult, you're telling me he's going back to juvenile detention facilities? Like, why don't I believe that? I don't believe that. And again, I'm here to be checked. Correct me if I got the shit wrong. But I'm just saying, I know when some shit smells like some bullshit, right? Let me go on in this thread. It said, after all of that, less than half of Black kids have their cases transferred back to juvenile court, while nearly all white kids have theirs approved. Think about that, everybody. Maryland charges 80% of children who are charged as an adults are Black. When these kids, or hopefully their representation, tries to get the case moved back to juvenile court, it rarely happens for Black children in this state, but it seems to always happen for the white kids, huh? It says only Alabama sends more kids to adult court on their initial charge than Maryland. Just to give you some idea, the kind of company that the state of Maryland keeps. And again, Maryland, Black governor, Black, everybody Black, everybody Black. And they don't give a fuck about these poor Black kids. Please be clear about that. The Maryland legislature have refused to pass the Youth Equity and Safety Act for 13 years in a row. A law that would end auto charging of children as adults. Not as progressive as advertised. Every time the General Assembly takes a step forward, they keep still fucking up. A study on the impact of juvenile transfer laws found that youth adjudicated to juvenile courts have better than a 20% chance, a 20% lower risk of rearrest than those who are tried in criminal court. Of course, locking up babies doesn't make anybody safer, and the data shows that. Thank you so much, Radical Industry Escape Artists, with the fire Twitter thread, but they read this article from the opinion section of the Baltimore Beat, written there by Baltimore Court Watch. Thank you, Will. Before I went on live, I got a number of comments on the Instagram page at BIDWKB, and someone left a very astute comment pertaining to this kid, right? The squeegee worker, this kid who was otherwise minding his fucking business until some grown ass man ran up on him wielding a bat, meaning him bodily harm. This kid. And the commenter said, just like in Palestine, oppressed people don't have the right to self-defense. Just like in Palestine. The way that the Hamas response of October 7th is being framed as a terrorist attack. Because these oppressed people are permitted to defend themselves. Indigenous people of this nation, of this continent rather, not permitted to defend themselves, lest they be labeled as savages and barbarians and people unwilling to compromise. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, no, we can't compromise on my land. We can't compromise on the safety of me and my family, the furtherance of me and my, like, and the child in Baltimore City. The child can't compromise. What's he supposed to stand there and get hit in the fucking head by this adult? Why is the child facing the consequences for bad decisions in the immediate by Tim Reynolds? And again, I'm not trying to smear the dead, but at the same time, bruh, you could have stayed in your fucking car. You would have been going to the Ravens game over the weekend. And I'm not saying this, I'm not trying to hurt his family or anything like that. Like, he made a bad decision. I expect better decisions from the 40-something-year-old than I do the fucking 14-year-old. But the 14-year-old is charged as an adult. The 14-year-old is about to do big boy time. And the kid was 14. But Black children are expected to be all knowing of the law, be all knowing of the consequences, be all expected to comport themselves with the highest rates of, civility out in the streets, regardless of their home situation, regardless of their socioeconomic background, regardless of the piss poor level of public education they're receiving. These kids are supposed to be fucking angels out here. And people like Brandon Scott and Ivan Bates saying that these kids is out of control. No, motherfucker, your city is out of control. Don't blame the children. The children are the reaction. The children are the response. The children are manifesting what you and other politicians and leaders and corporations and capitalists. The children are manifesting what has been poured into them. And if they are acting out violently, it's because they have received nothing but violence. Poverty is violence. Bad education system is violence. Inability to drink the water is violence. So stop looking at the kid as though the kids are the fucking problem. The kids are not in control. The kids don't have no power. And even in a potentially life or death situation, the Black child is not allowed to defend themselves, lest they be held to very high standards under the law. They are supposed to respond with adult maturity, with adult restraint, and that's fucked up. Oh, and conversely, white kids in this state are not held to the same standard. So, y'all, I am extremely disappointed, genuinely heartbroken about this outcome. I was heartbroken that the child was convicted in the first place. Excuse me. The argument from the prosecutors as to why the kid, because again, they tried to charge the kid with first-degree murder, like premeditated, like, you guys are pieces of shit. Like, nobody in power in Baltimore was willing to put themselves in the shoes of that kid. But instead, everybody was willing to squad up, the city council, the fucking mayor, the state's attorney, police chief. Everybody's willing to squad up against these kids. Why? The squeegee workers are the problem. These kids, that's why we got to put a curfew in place, because the kids out in the street is the problem. These dirt bikes are the problem. No, y'all are the problem. The continued disinvestment of these children's neighborhoods, their city, their schools, opportunities for their parents, public transportation so their families can get to and fro across the city. Like, the historical and generational disinvestment in Baltimore is the problem. The redlining is the problem. The segregation is the problem. The overfunding and the overpolicing, the occupation, like in Palestine, the occupation of Black Baltimore neighborhoods by a unfriendly, let's say at minimum, if not outright dangerous and hostile, occupying force such as the Baltimore police is the fucking problem. Stop blaming these kids. Stop blaming the kids. It ain't the goddamn kids. I hope that his family or his defense team releases support information for him. Now, some news outlets have named this child. I have even named this child, and I apologize for doing that. You're not supposed to name juveniles. Despite now, normally when the kid is charged as an adult, and again, the media outlets are playing weird here, but if the kid is charged as an adult, usually they will name the kid. But some outlets have opted to still not name him because he's 16 years old. He was 14 when this shit happened. So I apologize for having named him on a previous broadcast, but I hope that people connected to this child release support information for him, but where he can be written to, hopefully, or we can send support to his family, because my heart sinks when I think about the 16-year-old boy about to go down for 15 years, literally for self-defense. You know what I'm saying? Self-defense. And I don't know what this kid is going to be like when he comes out. Much in the same reasons that I offered a victim impact statement at my brother's killer's sentencing. Fuck him, right? For what he did all day. But first of all, this child in Baltimore was doing something noble, self-defense of him and his comrades. This piece of shit who killed my brother, he did that shit because I guess he didn't have nothing else better to do. But at the same time, I still didn't think you should be throwing away 16-year-olds. You know what I'm saying? Like I still think that. And and don't get me wrong, it's fuck that kid, okay? Even though he's not a kid now. But I still don't think we should be throwing away 16-year-olds. I don't believe that. Because my concern about the teen who murdered my brother, what the fuck? If he's already going in for murder, well, I think he was actually convicted of manslaughter, but he committed murder, right? What do we think 10 years in the penitentiary is going to do to this 16-year-old? Like, what do we think 10 years or more? He only got 10 years, by the way, because he took a plea. Yeah, so there's that part, right? But I'm sorry, I don't have any hopes that this child who was a child when they went in and will be a man when they come out. I think it's going to be worse. I think it's going to be worse. And the reason I said I was trying to advocate in some form for a lower sentence, or for him not to be sent to the penitentiary. I know that sounds, contradictory, but I'm concerned about the society when he gets out. I'm talking about how he's going to be in society, right? And that's something that we need to think about when we are advocating for these children to get thrown away. Oh, we got to charge them as adults so they understand the consequences. No, motherfucker, the consequences are going to be waiting for you and I in 10, 15, 20, 25 years when these kids come out. When they come out hard-hearted, bitter, better studied as criminals, potentially more violent, survivors of violence on the inside. What does that do to them? Like, we are not better served by constantly throwing teenagers away to the penitentiary. I understand what they did. I get it. But circumstances differ. Conditions matter. And I don't think this blanket, throw them all away, lock them all up strategy is going to work for us. We've already seen it not work from a generation ago of the war on crime and the crime bill and its lasting consequences. So we're about to really gear up for the crime bill 2.0, whatever fucked up legislation that's going to look like coming from out of Congress. Oh, by the way, they still ain't got a House Speaker, so maybe ain't shit coming out of Congress. So maybe ain't shit. Maybe ain't shit gonna come out of Congress. Good, because Congress out here doing more harm than good any goddamn way. So that's that. Let me take a